All right, so welcome back. And Today we need to work on our search box components. Last time we were able to work on this our drop down where you can select different fonts. So we have the font for sans serif, we have the serif, and we have the mono. So currently serif is what is there, but if I change sans serif, but if I change it to serif, as you can see, it's going to change the interface. So change to mono, and it's going to pick up the mono fonts. And all this thing that we are doing, it actually coming from the design that we have there. So we have three fonts. For the sans serif, we have this font, which is the Inter. For the serif, we are using Laura, and for the mono, we are using this Inconsolata. But for today, we want to focus on this our search box page, and these are the different states that we need to work on, or that your feed can be in. So when you're in light mode and you're not interacting with it and nothing is inside it, this is how our form or our box supposed to look like. And at the same time, when you've interacted with it, that means you've already put something inside and everything is okay, this is how it's going to look like. And if everything is, or when you're inside the box, this is the style we need to have there. And when you leave the box or you try to search for something and you did not put anything, this is the error message that needs to come outside there like that when you click on the search there like that. And this is what we have for the dark mode. So we need to work for both the dark and the light mode. And again too, once you press enter from your keyboard or you click on this search box, this thing should, or we don't even need to press, we don't need to click on this. So once we press enter from the keyboard, this thing should search the details of whatever we have here. And in our next class, we should start with the API connection by fetching the data that matches what the user puts inside the box. But first, today, we need to create a box where the user are going to type. And we already have that in this our page layout. We've already put it there, but we don't really have anything meaningful inside the search box. It's just this search box that we have there. As you can see from here, we only have the text like that. So let me reload the page so that it go back to the light. And again, let me move this thing to the side so that I can have it in this way. Let me reduce the screen a little bit, and let me reduce this one too, like this. I hope you can still see my code. So what do we want to do now?
Yes.
We need to turn, all right, we need to turn this our box that we have here now into something meaningful that we have here like that. And how can we turn it to something that is meaningful? Or I have to expand this thing because it's enough for us to see what is going on. So we'll just move this one here like that. So expand it a little bit. So now this is what we need to do. So let's start with it. We already have this icon. So let me check under our so icon arrow, icon moon, icon play. As you can see, we already have this icon search. So we don't need to get that assets again. So what we need to do is that how can we make this icon now to be inside input? By default, you cannot put anything inside input because it's a self-closing tag. So there's no way you can move something inside it and you now be able to position it wherever you want it to be. So the trick that will normally follow is to have a container, and that container will be the one that is going to hold the input and this one. So the container will now, it's not going to have any background. It's still the input that we're going to be working with, but both of them are going to be contained with a particular container, so that once we position that container as a relative, we'll be able to position this one as absolute and move it anywhere we want on the page there. So we're still going to have this div, which I'm going to give a class like this. And inside this div, we are going to be having two things. We're going to have our input, which is where we're going to be typing from like that. And at the same time, after this input, so it's going to be of type search like that. And again, it's going to have placeholder, as you can see, when you don't have anything inside the box. So we want to have this search for any any word with 3 dots like this. So that's what we want to have when we don't have anything inside the box. And we're going to come back later on to style it, but for now, let's have all the content. So after this, I'm going to have the image, and that image is going to be coming from the let me see again. So it's under the public. So we have the images and we have the icon search. So we have images like this, and the icon, then search.svg. So in case it's not showing on something goes wrong, I'm just going to put this text in place of that. So save, and again too, I'm going to give it a class because we need to apply some class on it like that. So save, and going back to the page, we should have all this in place side by side, because image and the inputs by default, they are inline elements. So it's going to place them, or it's not even placing it side by side right now. So it places them on top of each other. But I need to move them side by side based on what we have here. So clicking on this box, we should see the style that we need to apply. As you can see, we need to apply this border radius of 1 rem, and we need to apply this background of this our color, which is this F4, which is something that we've already saved. So let me open my Tailwind config and let me check the name that we use. So this is so that is upgrade 3. So we need to, but now I'm not going to be applying on the div because I don't want anything to happen on the div. The only thing I just need from the div is just to position it as relative. So that's the only thing I need. And the reason why I need it as relative, so that I can move this image anywhere I want inside that container. So when I move it, when I position it as absolute, I can start moving it around based on this container. But I want this input to fill this container. So how do I do that? What I just need to do is to give it this one width full like that, and I can give it whatever height that I want. So, and I don't need to specify height. What I just need to specify is the padding. And as you can see on the left, we have 1.5 rem padding. On top and bottom, we have 1.25 rem as a padding. So which means px, which is left and right, we still need to change the right later on, but for now it's supposed to be that 1.5, and 1.5 I think is around that, because 8 is 2 rem, so which means it should be around that 7 like that. That 7 is, let me use 6. So px6, as you can see, it is padding left and padding right of this 1.5. And for the top and bottom, that one is 1.25, and that one should be 5 like that, because this one is, as you can see, 1.25, because 6 is 1.5, then that means 5, because 4 is 1 rem, so that means 5 is going to be this. Again, it have a rounded, which is a border radius, which is going to be, let me see, 1 rem. So 1 rem is this 2xl. So save and go back to the page. We should have that our input, but right now I've not really applied the background, which is going to be that our upgrade 3. So bg upgrade 3, is this the color? Black 3. Oh, it's gray, not black, sorry. Gray 3, not black 3. So let me reload, and as you can see now, can you see what is happening? So that's the container is going to expand. So it will now look as if the input is what is there. So what we just need to do now is to position this one as absolute. Then we'll move it towards the right of the stuff. And now what's the spacing on the from the right? So if you look at it, so clicking on this icon, then drag your marks to the side. As you can see, the spacing there is this 1.53, which I'm just going to use 1.5 like that. That extra 3, I don't know what he's doing there, because just he's not making this thing to look appropriate like that. So what we need to do now is that this our image, the first thing we need to do is to position it as absolute. Instead, we just put absolute, just like the way we put relative here. And since we position this one as relative, later on when we are doing our top left whatever stuff, it will now be moved based on this container. And this container too is expanding based on this input. So which means now it will look as if this one is now inside the input, whereas it is actually inside the div here. And that's the reason we are not giving background to this, so that it will be this one that will be controlling that, because we will need all this our line that the browser is giving us out of the box. As you can see, when you're inside the box, it brings out this line, but we need to change the color. And when you're outside, that line is gone. But we're not going to be using this outline. I think we can use the outline and just update the color so that it matches what we have here. So this is the color it's supposed to have, and let me quickly change that before going with this. So let me expand this in so that we can see what is going on. So what's supposed to happen here is that we need to have, when it is focused, so when it is focused, this is how to target focus. We want the outline to match our app purple like that. So what's the color is going to be this app purple. So the outline color, because the outline color is black, as you can see, that's what it's going to do. It will update the color from that black that is there, and it's going to replace it with our color that we are asked to use. As you can see now, when you're outside, it looks like this. When you're inside, it looks like this. But we need to take care of the dark. As you can see, it's not looking nice. So what we are asked to do when it is in dark mode, as you can see, we just need to get the color for the dark. The outline is still the same, but the background is different. And again, to the color of this one, we might need to change it. But for now, let me just click on the box, and as you can see, it is this 1F that is there. So, and what is that 1F? So let me go to my Tailwind, and as you can see, it is this black 2 like that. So when we're in dark mode, we want the BG to be different. So dark. So here, the BG is going to be this black 2 like that when we're in black, when we're in dark mode. So in dark mode, this is the background we want to use. And going back to the page, we should now have our design. As you can see, in dark mode, it will use this color, and in light mode, it will use this color. And I can see that this one is okay already. I don't need to change it, but there's a problem with the text. No, there's no problem. It has even changed. So since we've changed the color directly, so it's updating that one. So I don't need to stress myself on that. The only thing I know that we can just work on is the text that is inside it, because I can see that it is bold, but the one that is there currently is not. And again, the font size is different. So the font size here is 1.25, but normally the font size will be 1 rem. So let me see the other screen. Are they using the same size? So this one too is 1.25. So let me check it on mobile. Is it using the same value, so that I know whether to apply this in there? As you can see on small screen, it is 1 rem. But apart from that, from medium screen and above, it is 1.25. So we need to change it. The font needs to be bold. So the font is using there is 700. So we need to change that. And how do you change the fonts to be bold? So what we just need to do here is to do font bold like that. On small screen, we are using normal font. We are using normal size. But once we get to medium screen, we want our text to be that 1.25. And I think 1.25 is this XL like that. So let me check. Yeah, 1.25 like that. So once we get to the medium screen and above, the text is going to change to this 1.25. The mobile screen, because you know Tailwind by default, whatever you apply without media query, it always assumes it's mobile. And since we talked about this medium, it means from here and above, not downward. So that's how Tailwind works. And I don't want this thing to be going off edge like this. So let me go to this my view, then word wrap, so that it can move this thing to the other line like this. Again, going back to the screen, we should have the text looking, as you can see now, the text is now bold like that. So in light mode, we have this, but I don't think this is the color that is there in light mode. So let me go back to that place and see the color it's using. As you can see, it's not the same. That one color is too sharp. So their one is this 2D. That's what it's using when it is in light mode to 2D, but this one is just normal white, so I don't need to change that one like that. So what we just need to do here, what is 2D, where are you? Okay, is this app black 3 like that. So when we're in normal mode, so the text is going to be app black 3 like this. So that's the text or the color that needs to be there. So save, and now we should have the stuff. So going back to our page, and as you can see, it has been updated. So when you go, but it's not changing because we've override the setting that is coming from the parent. So we need to change it. So when we're in dark mode like this, so let me cross check the color that is being used. There is it the gray or white that is being used. So let me go into the app again. So just click on it. This thing make it easier for us, Figma. Just click on it. You can see it's using white. That's FFF like that. So I don't need to check this side because thing we actually have this. So this is going to be text white directly like that. So and that's what is going to use when we're in dark mode like that. So going back to the screen, I did not want you to open. I did not ask you to open. So going back to the screen, as you can see, it's white. And once we go back to the other one, it changes the color. But now we've not moved this one inside like that. We've not moved it inside. And the reason it's not inside is because we just say absolute. We did not really specify the direction or where we want to place it in the parent. So we've checked it before. We see that it is 1.5 from the left. So here I can just use 6 because this 6 is 1.5 like that. So it's not left, it's the right that we want to place it. So it's going to be right like this. And once I save and go back to the page, so the image should move to the right. But we want it to be at the center of its parent. So to put it at the center, so Tailwind to make it easier, we can use top 1/2. This is half. 1 divided by 2 is just half. So this is what Tailwind is using to generate 50%. But if you do it, it will not really be at the center. It's the top of the image that is going to the center. As you can see, it's the top of the image that is going to the center. But it's the center of the image that's supposed to be there. So what can we do? What we normally do is to transform it by using -50. So how do you do it? So to use negative, you're going to use minus translate like that. So translate, when you do transform, translate X, translate Y. This is how to do it in Tailwind. As you can see, to generate transform, I need to translate it like that. But I want to translate it back up by -50. So to do it, I will just do 1/2 like this. And what is going to generate for us, X. I've forgotten X because we are doing it for the, no, not X. So we are dealing with Y because we are moving it up and down. So now it's only going to translate for us on the Y. It will not, as you can see, the value of the translate Y will be -50% because we put negative here. Or you can specify the value yourself if you want. If Tailwind did not have it, so you can put the value yourself, but this is just waste of typing because it's already in Tailwind. So if I over on this stuff, as you can see, it's still doing the same thing. But I will go with the Tailwind value there because they have it. But if it's something that Tailwind doesn't have, you just open your square brackets and you're going to put it in. And this one will make sure that the image is center inside the box. But I don't like this thing that is showing. That thing that is showing is because of the browser I'm using. Some browser used to show this X when you put the type of your or this thing to be search. But I'm not going to use search for now. I will just use text so that I don't see that cross X that is coming out, because some browser used to put it when you, as you can see now, it's not showing again. When you use type search, and the reason I use that type search is because when you look at this thing on mobile, I want it to show the search icon on your keyboard. That's why when you go to some site and they have a search functionality on that site, and you click on the box, you see that the keyboard change. Or again, to when you go to the email box, you see that the thing will give you the art. It's because this thing is looking at your box or your input that you're using, and based on the type you specify here, is going to bring out the correct keyboard on the mobile. But on the desktop, you are not going to see anything like that because keyboard is not showing on the screen. So you are typing from the physical keyboard. But on the mobile, it's going to pop it out and give you the correct keyboard like that. And you can even tell this thing to give you what you want by using input mode. Maybe you are putting type that is different. You can use this input mode to give you different ones. So like TED now, it's going to give you the keyboard of telephone, which is going to give you all those numbers that I normally show like that. Or you can use search or a lot of other one or number and so forth like that. So it's going to bring the stuff out like that. So we are still using text, but on the smartphone, it will stay, and you can go online and look for more value of this input mode HTML like that. So it have a lot of different input mode that you can give it, and based on what you give to it on the phone, it will display the correct keyboard based on the mode that you specify. But if you use type, some of them, they recognize the stuff already. As you can see, none, it can be text, which is the default. So when you put decimal, then on your keyboard, it will show the decimal point as part of the number. When you use numeric, it will just show normal number. So for the tel, which is going to show like anytime you want to impute, maybe in your box you want to collect their phone number, when you use tel, keyboard on the phone will come out with the input for imputing phone number, as you can see, for the search, which is what I'm using right now. So this one now on the keyboard, it's now going to bring the stuff where you can see return and to submit the stuff, which is the same thing as you can see. It's the same thing as you using type search. But because some browser used to show that cross, I don't want it. So what I do is to use text, but still give hint to the phone that that thing is for search. And based on that, it will bring out the keyboard that is meant for the search input. If it is for the email, as you can see, it's going to include it. For the URL, if you specify it, it's going to give you the key where you can see HTTP. You are going to see all the .com on your keyboard. These are what is going on behind the scene. And that's how all this thing knows the keyboard to bring out. But if you just use normal text, that one is general. It will just bring normal keyboard on the phone. But this thing is useless on the desktop because there is no virtual. Virtual is something that come up on the screen like that. So if you use on-screen keyboard, but who use on-screen keyboard on the system like that? So most of the people use their physical keyboard, but on the phone there is no physical keyboard. Mostly all the phone these days, the keyboard will come out on the screen, except if you are using all these old phone that have all these physical keypad there like that. So we have this our box coming out successfully like that. But what if you have error? Because the border that is coming there, we need to have a border on this thing when there is an error like that, because this thing is telling us that we can actually have error. Because if the user tried to search for something and they did not put what they want to search and they press enter, we need to show this error for them like that. And how can we make this thing easier for us? So instead of us just using this div that is here, what I would do is to change it to form. And why am I changing it to form? Is because with this form, it's kind of connected to your keyboard, because this one is going to do some magic based on the browser, or the browser is going to do the magic on the form. So anytime you are inside that box and you press enter, it's going to submit the form automatically, because this input is a control under the form. And since it's a control under the form, once you press enter on it, it's going to trigger the submission on this form here like that. I'm going to show you going back to the page and just type anything inside the box like this and press enter. As you can see, nothing happened because it's under div and it doesn't know what to do there. But once you have input under form, it knows that form is for submission of data. And since the input is there, once you press enter, it will trigger submission on that your form. And you see that the page will reload because we did not undo the submission at all. But we are going to stop it because we don't want the thing to reload the page. We want to hijack the flow from the browser there like that. So now if I put something inside the box and I press enter, can you see it will reload the page automatically because it has submitted the form to this page. But that input did not have any data inside it. So if you want, you can just give it a name, which is going to be search, so that it can submit the stuff. Or so this is going to be search like this. So save, then going back to the screen and press something else again, then press enter. I did not add any JavaScript. As you can see, the browser is handling this thing already because form have all this magic going on with it out of the box. You don't need to start adding JavaScript to the input that when someone press enter on it, you want to submit it and so forth like that. The form have this in automatically. Once you put your any control under it, like button, input, or anything that deal with form, once you put it under that form element and you press enter on them, it will trigger the submission. But we don't want the browser to handle it for us. We want to be able to do it by ourselves. So what we can do here is to attach the event that the browser is that this thing is firing there. So which is this on submit. So this is the stuff that this stuff is firing there. And what we can do here is to pass our function, which is going to be this on submit. That's what I will call it to like that. So and I will create it here, which is going to be this on submit like this. So on submit or undo submit or whatever you want to call it. So you are the one in charge like that. And don't forget, anytime your event is fired, you are going to receive the type of event that occur, because I want to stop whatever the browser used to do by default. So yeah, I'm going to do event.prevent default, because whatever I used to do before, I don't want it to do it. I want to hijack that process from it like that. And what I want to do is just to console log whatever you type inside the box. But how do we get to what you type inside the box? We've done something like this before. So we need to have a state to keep tracking of the value that we have inside the box. So yeah, I'm going to have const search like this, then set search like that. And inside this place is going to be use states, so that we can keep tracking of the value that we have inside the input there. So by default, it's going to be empty string. And what do we need to do? We just need to supply the value, and the value is coming from search. But what if something changed on this box? What do we need to do? We need to use our onChange. We've done all this thing before, so it's not something new like that. So yeah, I'm going to receive the E, which is the event that occur like that. And again, I'm going to set search like that. So because I'm not doing too much, so it's going to be E dot target like this, then dot value. So it's going to give us whatever you type inside the box. It will update our state and it will receive it through the value like that. So which means here now I can have access to that value by just a search like this is going to be search. So save, then going back to the page. Now we have this thing connected to our form. So let me open the console. Yeah, so where is the console? This is my console. Let me reduce this, then reduce this one here. So now inside the box, once I start typing and press enter, as you can see, we get the value. So we stop or we hijack the process that the browser will follow when your form is submitted. That's why I use stop prevent default there, so that it doesn't do whatever that form is going to do out of the box. And if I just put keyboard like this, press enter, as you can see, we get to whatever the user type. But now what if the user did not type anything and they just press enter? As you can see, it will give us empty value. So we need to show error when the user input or when they just press enter with empty value. So we need to show this whoops can be empty like that. And how do we know that whatever they put there is empty? So what we need to firstly do is we trim the value. So const data, I will call it search data like this, is going to be this search dot trim. And why are we trimming this stuff? The reason you are trimming is because some people can be as smart to you by just go to the box and just press space like this, and as you can see, it will still submit it. As you can see, that space are there. So for the first one, no space, but for the second one, as you can see, space is there. So anytime you have space at the edge of the text, that's the same way it's going to come outside. As you can see here, even if you type something there like that and press enter, as you can see, that space will be there. So we don't want any space, because whatever text they are typing, we want to remove those space out of what we want to send there. So and how do we do it? What we can do is just to apply trim. So it will remove any edge space that you have there. As you can see now, this is what we typed. But once we trim it, any space at the edge, not in between, no, any space at the edge is going to remove it. If you want to remove the first one, you can just trim this thing like this. It have a different trim that you can use there. As you can see, there is trim end, which is at the end. There is trim left, trim right, trim start. So but here, just use trim, it will remove the two of them, not just one of the side like that. And that's what I'm using here to firstly remove any space that is at the edge, not in between the text. It doesn't deal with the text inside in between. We're only removing the one at the edge. So how do we know whether there is something there or not something there? So in order for us to have as value like this, is going to be the search data dot length, because length is going to give you the total number of items you have there. So when it's greater than 0, we know that something is here. And when it's not greater than 0, we know that nothing is inside the box. So if I use empty string like this and I use length on it, as you can see, it is 0 because nothing is inside. But if I use this space, and that's the reason why we need to trim it. Can you see? It's same space as that text too. So as you can see, it's showing 4. And that's the reason why we trim it first. So instead of us checking the length directly, we firstly trim it. As you can see, it's now showing 0. So you should always remove, or you don't trust whatever the text or whatever. Anytime you need to collect input from the user, you always sanitize it. So what we did here is known as sanitization here. Like you are just like making sure that the data they are inputting in, it's coming in the format that you want, and at the same time there is no kind of a loophole there that the user can use to bypass what you want. So we firstly remove anything that we don't want from it, like remove any edge space like that. Then after that, we now check whether the content that is left is greater than 0 or not. So if it's greater than 0, it means user have something. But if it's not greater than 0, it means they don't have anything inside this place. So we need to create another container that is going to hold this form and the error message. So now instead of us just having this in directly, we need to have a div, and this div is the one that is going to hold the form and the error. And why do we need to create the div? We don't want the stuff to adjust the logic we are doing for this one, because if you put it inside the form, it will expand this box, and once you expand the box, it will move the image to the center. And you know that before we are faking it that is at the center of this one, but since this one has shifted, then this one too will adjust and go to the center, and that's this one we need to move this one inside its own container too. So here we're going to have a flex call so that it can be on top of each other. Gap is going to be around this 3, which is 1 point something there, 75, like that. So and then here under the form we are going to have error message, but this one is going to be condition there like that. So it's going to be condition like that. And how do we condition the stuff? So we need to have a state to keep tracking of whether we have error or not. So we need to use as error, then set as error like this, or instead of us doing it like this, we can just say they are empty, or we can just say is empty, so that we know that we're only tracking the empty state. Then set is empty like this. You can use anything you want for your variable, but you should always use something that is descriptive. So by default it's going to be false because we don't have any error. So what we always do is that we check here. So if it has value, we want to remove error if it is there before. If it's not there, so if what we just need to do is that if as value like this, so and there is any error before, so and is empty, but this thing doesn't make sense, or let's just leave it like that. So and it's empty, so which means the thing is showing error before. So what we want to do is a set is empty like this to be false. So we don't want it to show the error again. So else if not as a value. So if it's not having value at that point, we need to set. So set is empty to true. So which means the error is going to come outside like that. So if it is having this like that, what we want to do is to set this one like if it is having value, that means this thing is greater than 0 and we are showing error before, we want to remove it. And if it is not having any value, then we need to show the error. And where do we want to show the error? It is down here, and we need to check it's empty. So when it is empty, that's where we want to show the error. And what is the error message that we want to show? That's what is coming from here. So I will just go there and copy the stuff. And again too, we need to change the line when it is empty like that. So this is the error message that we want to show, but we need to apply some class on it. So what is the text? So let me go back into it. So as you can see, he's using this our app red. The size is 1.25 like this. I think 1.25 on big screen. So let me apply the class. So by default is using the normal text. So md text XL like that, so that you can use that our 1.25 on base screen. Then the text app red like that, because I know that we should have app red here. So we have it like this. So save the code, then going back to the page on the screen and let us test it. We've not really worked on the border. We'll come back into that one. So now going back to the screen, so press enter. When you don't have anything, we're supposed to have the message coming out. Let me reload, but I did not see anything there. So what do I want to do? Type something, press enter. We should have it. Again, let me clean everything and press enter. And as you can see now, the error message come outside. But why did I not see the end? Let me try it again, because I supposed to do this thing. So I don't have anything. So this thing is telling me to impute. Let me, as you can see now, it bring out the message. But once I type something and I press enter, as you can see, the error message disappear, and it's because of this line. That's what this line is doing. So when there's value and we have any error there before, remove it. But if there is no value, then set that we have error. So if you don't have a, later on, as you can see, the error disappear. So if I still clean this one and press enter, it will still come back, because it's doing this check based on whether there is value or no value. So even if you press enter again, it's showing error already, so there is no problem with that one. Our error is still going to come outside like that. But we don't want to do anything when there is an error. So we don't want to do anything when there is error. What we need to do is to return. So return means that it will not continue, because if you look at it currently now, even if there is if I type something inside the box and press enter like that, you can see it's still coming out. So remove this one, type something. So when there is no error, we want to have the result like this. We want to get to that console log. But when we don't have anything and you press enter, can you see it's still getting to that side to call API with empty data? We don't want it to call empty data, and that's what I'm returning here. So with the help of this return now, it will stop on the line, it will not continue again, and it will not be able to see this console log when there is any error like that. So clearing this console now, reload the page like this. So when we have something inside the box and you press enter, it will get to that part of the console. But now if I remove it and there is error, as you can see, it's not getting to that console, because what is going to happen is going to return. Once we put a return in a function, it will stop on that line. It will not continue again with everything that follows it like that. Because we only want this thing to get here when we have a value. That's the only time we want to, because this is where we'll be calling the API later on. So when there is a value, we want to call the API. But when there is no value, there is no need of us getting here calling API at all, which is good. I can just say calling API with the search, whatever the search that is there, like that. So save. Going back to the screen. So when we have value, it will clear the error if there is any error. And as you can see, once this thing is not updating yet, yeah. So as you can see, calling API with the search, whatever stuff we pass here. So keyboard like this. So press enter. As you can see, calling API with the search and the keyboard. But now if I remove the text and I press enter, the only thing we see is error. As you can see, that is not calling any API, because you don't want to be calling API with unnecessary stuff, because you don't not put any text. You are not looking for empty stuff from the API. That's waste of resources there like that. And as you can see again, this thing is coming out clearly. But what is this thing that is showing there? I don't want this thing. Let me go back into this. Where's our pages? The home page. This thing that I'm showing here, I don't want this thing to have this thing at all. It's just looking somehow there. So I'll just leave it like this for now, but we'll be working on this one in the next class there. So once this thing is done loading, this one should disappear, and we should have only the text coming out there. Is this still saving? It's not saving. Save again, go back to the page, and now we should have normal text like that. So close this. Everything should still be perfect because we've aligned them together. So going to the light mode, we should have this, and in the dark mode, we should have what we have here. And once you type something inside the box and you press enter, as you can see, the error message will disappear. If you don't type anything in the box, the error message is going to come outside. And whatever you type here like that, which is something we'll be doing in the next class, is going to call the API with the stuff. So let me open the console again. Okay, loading. What's going on? The browser, my browser don't hang. What's this? S6. So the browser is hanging. What's going on? Edge. Anytime it's requesting for update, that's why I used to do all this nonsense. But the box is not loading. Let me just load the entire page. Because what's going on with the browser? What's all this? Let me reload again. Okay, it's loading. And once it's done, we should. It's not supposed to be taking time like this. I need to update, because now that it's showing update now. And I don't know if I update, it stops the Google Meet from the other screen. So I don't want to lose that. What's going on? Let me open in another tab. Local 07153. Yeah. So this one has opened. This tab is doing nonsense. Close that one. Open the console and the console. Okay, back. So now we have our app in the light and dark mode. So this is the we have our app in light and dark mode. This is our light mode. So clicking on this, it will change it to the dark, and our box has been worked on to fit in with the dark theme and the light theme. Again, we can change the font, but now look at it, there's a problem here that we need to fix. So there is a problem here that we need to fix. So what is happening here is that the header here that we have, the z index of the header, it's actually below this one of the search box. So we need to make sure that this header actually have a higher z index above, and this one is like that because of the way we arrange the content. As you can see, the header is coming first and this div is the second, so which means the last item is always above the one before it. So what we need to do is now is to move this one above this one. And how do we move it above? One way of doing it is by changing its position. So for example here, what we just need to do is to change the position apart from static. That one too can fix the stuff. For example, I'll just change position to relative like this. Then from there, once it's set, I can just give it a z index, maybe around that 3. And as you can see now, it will come up because by default, all of them have 0, 0. So CSS is going to use the placements of the content on the page. But now we are now controlling it. So we need to position it, or you can leave the position and you change the C index so that we are going to talk to this in that this one should always be above of the next one that follow, because all this one will be 0 by default. And since we increase this one to 3 or 1, so it doesn't need to be above 0 because by default, all of them are 0 if you don't specify it. And since we've used this one as 1, 1 is greater than 0. So now the header will be above that one. So what we just need to do is to go to our page layout. So where we have this header like that. So let me open the header. And inside this our header, we just need to increase the Z index. So here, I'm going to use the index that is coming from Tailwind. Tailwind have some predefined C index. And I want this thing to always be above every other thing. So I will just use this 50 for now. So as you can see, it's just going to create that Z index of 50. Doesn't care. I don't care whatever the value that is there, because I know that this 50 will always be above every other one or the page like that. So once I reload the stuff, once again, so clicking on this, as you can see, it will always be at the top because we've increased the Z index. So clicking on serif, our text should change to Laura. So clicking on mono, our text should change to consolata. So we have this keyboard like that. So clicking on this thing again, going back to sans serif, as you can see, update it. We have the dark mode, and now the next thing we need to start working on is now the content on this page here, where we start calling the API and we fill in the details based on what we have from the Figma design. What's wrong with this browser today? This edge like this. Anytime it have updates and you don't do it, it will start behaving anyhow. I can't click anything, so I have to wait. Oh, yeah, I can't click. So this is what we have for today, because I need to rest. So for now, we'll be stopping here, but we need to work more on this header section, because once you click, what we need to do is that on this page, we need our data. And again, this is where we want to call the API. So how do we send the data that is coming from here into the home page? We can use context to do that by, supplying the data to any component where it's going to be used, or make whatever call we want to make from any component there. Or based on this, our simple application here, we can just put our states inside this our app.jss and we start passing it down one by one. But I think that one is not the best to do. So instead of us doing it like that, we can just create a context there. So which means under this source here, I'm going to create a folder, so which is going to be context. And under the context, we are going to have this app context like this. Or let me just follow the same pattern from the other one. So app context like this. And inside this app context, that's where we are going to create our context. And we follow the same flow that we normally have. So const, so we're going to have this app context like this. But I don't want to export it out because I'm going to be creating all the hooks that will be doing the magic from here. So I don't want to make it to go outside. So I will not export it, which is going to be create context like that, which is coming from React. So create context is coming from React. So after creating our context, we need to have a provider that is going to provide everything. So this one we need to export it out. So const export const app provider like this, and this our app provider will receive the children. So whatever you pass at the children, we have access to what is under it. So and what do we need to return? We need to return this our app context like this, then dot provider that is on it, and we need to provide a value. So whatever value we send down here, that's what all the children that is under it are going to have access to. So I need to pass the children like this, and once these children get there, so we can now send down whatever value we want to send down there. And what are the value we want to send? So const search like this. So set search like this, which is going to be use state. So I'm going to be using this, the one we are using before. In that place, we are going to replace it with this, with our context later on. So yeah, use state again there like that. So what do we need? We need to have so const the data, then set data, which is what we don't know yet, which is what is going to be coming from the next class. So by default is going to be null like this, because we don't have any data yet. So now we pass everything inside this place. So we're going to send down the search, set search like this. So we send down the data, then set data to anybody that want to use this thing. So again, we are going to have export const like this, use app like this, use app data. So what is going to be there? So this thing is going to use our context like this is going to be use context like that, which is going to be this our app context like that. So another the app context, we know what is coming from it. So we know that we are going to have the search, we're going to have the set search, we're going to have the data, we're going to have the set data like that. And after this, we just need to return and do some other things. So first, I will send down the search, I will send down the set search like that. I will send the data out, and I will send the set data to out like this. And this is where we're going to be making the API call later on. So const fetch data like this. So once this one is called, it's going to call the API, and from there it is to call based on the search that we have. So the search like this, and again this one too, we need to send it out so that it can be called anywhere it is needed. So fetch data like this. So save, this one is wrong, supposed to have this arrow. So like this. So save, and we've exported this one. So save like that. Then where do we need to use this our context? So we need to go under this our app. So inside the app, we need to wrap everything that we have there. So this our browser router, we need to wrap it. So we're going to wrap it with the app provider like that, so that anything that is under it can have access to what is coming from the context there. So now save, and now inside our search box, instead of us creating this search by ourselves, then we can just call this our const, which is going to be search, which is coming from this use so app data like that. So this app data is sending this for us, and again too is giving all these set search like that. So everything we still have, we still work because it's the same name. So the value is coming from here, and we are setting search like that, and at the same time too, we are getting the value of the search. If it's empty, but if it's not empty, what we now want to do now is to call this our API, so which is going to be from this fetch data. So once everything is okay and there is no problem, then we'll call this fetch data. But there's some stuff we need to do here later on, because when the thing is loading, we don't want the user to search again like that. So we need to add all this data into it like that. So we need to keep tracking whether this thing is loading or not like that. So I'm going to put this one here like that. So const loading, then set loading like this, and here is going to be use state, which is going to be false by default, like that. And when we will call this fetch data, it will set the loading to true, so that this our box later on can show the loading to the user that something is actually fetching behind the scene, because we don't want them to search again. We are going to disable the button when the thing is loading. So this is going to be loading is what I just want to send out, so I don't want to send any other thing. And I'm going to mimic that stuff here by just say set loading to be true like this, but after a few seconds I want to disable it. So by just using this set timeout like that, so I want to do something after a few seconds, and I want to do it after 4 seconds. So after 4 seconds has passed, I want to just set loading to false like this, so that it will mimic that we are actually calling API like that. So and here, and we'll just code API with the search like this. So that's a message it's going to print outside. And when do we need this thing? So inside our search box again, we need to receive that loading like that. So when it is loading, we don't want our input to work again. So disable. So we want to disable the box when it is loading the data. And later on too, we need to change the content that is inside it to something else, or this icon self, we might need to change it, and it's going to show the rolling stuff when it is loading. But for now, I will just leave it like that. So going back to the screen, so we have this our content, and what's wrong with my browser, I don't know. So what I just need to do is to close everything, because this thing requires updates, and if I don't do it, this is how it is going to be misbehaving there like that. So Microsoft Edge, so where are you? So Microsoft Edge and tags, and this should close everything that I have on the edge, because that's the reason why this thing is doing nonsense like that. So let me just update, and it should close everything that I have on the edge. And once the stuff is done updating there, so I can click it on it again to bring it back, and it should be okay now once it's done loading. So yeah, so restore everything back like that, and I think it has updated itself, so it shouldn't be doing that nonsense again. So going back to our page now, it's downloading. So once I type something in the box and I press enter to fetch the data, so this thing is going to make a dummy call like that. So let me bring out the console. As you can see, I know it has not yet saved. So have I not saved everything? It's saved. Let me reload, because this is not what it's supposed to be showing like that. So reload the page, put something in the box, press enter, and as you can see, the box has been disabled and it called the search. Then after a few seconds, then you to come back with this one, and the box will be activated again like that. And what I want to do here is that if it is loading like that, instead of me using this text like that, we'll just put something nice. So if it is loading like this, it's going to be, so what is going to show is searching like that. So that's what is going to show. But if it is not, then it's going to put back our search. But there can be an error with the API call, so that one too, we are going to take care of it later on. But for now, let's just focus on this. So let me save it. Going back to the page, so press enter again. As you can see, it will put searching, and once it's done, after 4 seconds, as you can see, it will come back to it. So if I type keyboard like this, so press enter, it will put searching, and it will disable the box until it's done with the API call. And once it's back, then it will go back to whatever we typed before. But it's not making any API call, it's just a dummy set timeout, and we set it to true. Then after a few seconds, which is 4 seconds, we set it back to false, and we put the text, which is what we need to work on in the next class. And this use one now, we can now use it on the home page. Anything we need from it, It's just going to be there. So, and it make it easier for us to really work with our data from different components. So this one, and what it needs is the data later on, like that, which is when we call the API. And again, too, on the page, we might want to show some stuff which is going to be maybe loading. Maybe want to show a loading when this thing is actually loading there, like that. So that is going to be all. But let me just do console the log like this. So data loading like that. So save the code like this. So save the code, and then once it's saved, so going back to the screen, clear everything out. So press enter. So yeah, and once it's done, we should receive this thing back like that. And yeah, that is just going to be all for today. So I'm going to put this in back to you. Yeah, so we have data to be null and loading is false, but once something is there and you press enter, then it should receive the data there, and the team will always give you back the data based on what is going on, whether that thing change or not. So that's going to be all. Let me push the updated code to your side here. So terminal, new terminal, close this one and leave the one I have before. So stop the server like that. So git.commit, oh no, git.add git.commit fits add search box and add search box and the app context like this. So what's wrong with this keyboard? Press enter and no, something is wrong here. This keyboard has typed nonsense. So go back into this side because the keyboard did not input the correct stuff. Again, there's a mistake here. Press enter. So everything should be balanced like that. So git.push, and now you should have the contents at your end there. So that will be all for today.